So Treylon Burks just has a LCL sprain, so we're Gucci, but this video still goes. I made this before we knew what it was. So let's hop into the video.
Tennessee Titans fans are holding their breath. Treylon Burks, the man that they drafted to replace A.J. Brown, who suffered through injuries last season, only playing in 11 games, was carted off the field today with an apparent leg injury. Now, we don't know the specifics of the leg injury, but it seems like nothing good. And we need to talk about it because the Tennessee Titans made it seem as if they had traded A.J. Brown because they felt as if Treylon Burks, the guy that they targeted in the draft, was going to be the perfect replacement. But so far, injuries seem to have kept that dream on the shelf. So let's talk about it today. Hit that like and subscribe button as we approach 1,000 subscribers. It'll mean the world. How will the Tennessee Titans be able to overcome Treylon Burks' injury? Let me hear your thoughts down below. Let's get right into it. And guys, it's going to be a wild one. And I'm not somebody who likes to make videos about someone's injury, so we're really not going to talk about it, except right here, coming from a sports doctor, as you guys see right here. This guy, he's got what, about almost 40,000 followers on Instagram, on Twitter, my apology, and he's been featured on several reputable sites. So he's saying that Treylon Burks, the video suggests a PCL sprain bone bruise with an average 2 to 4 weeks of, recovery and then performance hit for first 6 post-injury games, I assume. And worst case scenario, he's saying it is MRI will probably be today, in that it's an ACL or meniscus, which means surgery out for season. So for me, what I think right here, we look at a guy that could potentially, I think, be able to avoid a scary injury. So that's what we're hoping for. But now we're going to talk about, this could have been, we're just going to talk about the mistake, trading away A.J. Brown. That was a mistake, okay? I think it's obvious, unless they were trying to slowly start a rebuild by, moving on from A.J. Brown, then moving on from Ryan Tannehill, and then eventually Derrick Henry. I want to hear you guys' thoughts on that one. But DeAndre Hopkins and Kyle Phillips with Nick Westbrook, Ike Hine, tell me if I said that correctly, and Chris Moore will be the new receivers to expect. Hopkins, Phillips, and Moore with, running back Spears and tight end. I'm going to, mess this up, but Chig, his last name is Okonkwo. Tell me if I said that correctly down below, guys. I'm not a huge Titans fan, but, I try to keep up with every single team. And I think Hopkins is obviously going to be DeAndre Hopkins, okay? For me, I think Chris Moore is going to be an underrated guy, and I've always liked Chris Moore's game, okay? He's a guy who's about, 30 years old. He's been in the league for a while. The reason why I know him pretty well is because he played for the Baltimore Ravens, and you guys know I'm from Maryland, so I got to see him. He was a really good, solid, slot receiver for us, and he's a guy who seems to have just stuck around the league always. I've been a guy who's shown last year was his best season, grabbing, about 48 balls, 548 yards. He's also, shown he can be a special teamer. And then Kyle Phillips, I think, is really going to be the guy we hope who can really step up and make an impact for the team. This is a guy who, coming out of UCLA, he's 24 years old. This is his second season. He only has 8 catches for his career, but he was the guy they drafted in the 5th round. They're hoping that he is going to be someone who can maybe step up and, provide some speed from underneath. Not really speed underneath because he ran a 4.5, but just give, possession. And this is going to be something, they don't really have a lot of guys who are going to take the top off the defense right now. So I assume we're going to see a lot of play action, bootlegs. But I think imagine if DeAndre Hopkins was paired up with A.J. Brown, okay? There's, Reggie Roberson Jr., Kyrus Jackson, Trayshawn Harrison, and Galvin Holmes, who are all profiled as slot players. And there's also perennial practice squad receiver Mason Kinsey. my apology, who's there. But, you know, Burks is this big-bodied outside target. So there's also McMath, who, you know, Racey McMath was a 2021 draft pick. And there's Colton Dowell, who was a 7th-round pick this year, who are the only other receivers that are bigger than 6 foot. Because all the other guys that I've basically said are under 6 foot, you know, excluding DeAndre Hopkins, who's in his own realm. But so maybe Colton Dowell and Racey McMath. It's just they don't have the deepest, you know, receiving room. And Nick Westbrook is 6'2", you know, he's a big boy. And I've liked him, okay? Don't get me wrong. I've liked him. He went undrafted, but he's slowly, like last year, 400 yards, just under 400 yards. Year before that, he had just under 500 yards. So he's been a guy who's shown, you know, 6'3" almost. So, you know, they have a few other guys who are big, but it's just, it's hard to decide. Like, and it's going back to, I think they really did make a mistake that they shouldn't have moved on from A.J. Brown. If they were really still trying to contend, you guys should have drafted another wide receiver, in my opinion, in this year's draft, okay? Like high up, of course, is what I'm in, you know. I think with their picks this year, I think the first round, they have the 11th pick, that's fine. The Will Levis, I would have drafted a receiver in the 2nd round, or even in the I like Tajay Spears from Tulane, so, and Josh Wiley wasn't bad. They didn't have the most draft picks, but I do think you could have. I felt there could have been a receiver that could have paid him. I don't know, guys. What do you think? I felt, and I'm not trying to take a crap on Treylon Burks, because I think I really liked him coming out of college. I liked the idea of him. But I'll admit, so far, the man out of Arkansas hasn't been able to stay healthy. He had nagging injuries his rookie year. And he was the guy who ran a 4.5, okay, as well. And they traded away A.J. Brown to draft Treylon Burks. He suffered turf toe. And then, you know, in week 4, and then he really didn't play till November. So he did show, you know, the ability to stretch the field, you know, 33 receptions for 433 yards. You know, he's putting up a good, you know, he was a first down machine, 14 yards. He showed off the big body, but 1 touchdown only. And again, I know he didn't play much, but it just goes to show that I think they should have potentially gotten themselves, you know, a receiver this year. I felt like they could have.